As a neutral country, you're the second wave of Irish soldiers to be sent into the Congo.
Jesus fucking snake!
The compound is a joke. We're wide open.
They would never dare attack United Nations company.
You've never been in battle.
The story unfolds against the turbulent backdrop of the Congo Crisis in the early 1960s, a time when the newly independent Republic of the Congo was struggling to maintain unity amid political instability, foreign interference, and competing economic interests. What makes this narrative so compelling is not just the scale of the conflict, but the deeply human perspective through which it is told. A small contingent of Irish UN peacekeepers, far from home, suddenly finding themselves at the center of a brutal and unexpected siege. The film captures this tension immediately, immersing us in a world where the ideals of peacekeeping clash violently with the realities of war. At the heart of the story is Commandant Pat Quinlan, a disciplined and quietly determined leader tasked with commanding A Company, a unit of about 150 Irish soldiers deployed under the United Nations banner. These men are not seasoned conquerors or hardened mercenaries. They are peacekeepers, trained to stabilize and observe, not to engage in full-scale warfare. From the beginning, there is a sense of unease, an understanding that the mission is more fragile than it appears on paper. Quinlan himself is portrayed as thoughtful and methodical, someone who understands both the limits of his orders and the gravity of his responsibility to his men. As the soldiers arrive in the mining town of Jadotville, the geopolitical stakes become clearer. The region is rich in valuable resources, particularly minerals that are highly sought after by foreign corporations. This economic significance has drawn the attention of powerful interests, including mercenaries and separatist forces, determined to maintain control over the area. The Irish troops, though officially neutral, are perceived as a threat simply because of their presence. This sets the stage for the central conflict, a clash not just of armies, but of motives and ideologies. The film carefully builds tension through small but telling moments. The soldiers interact with local civilians, observe the behavior of mercenaries, and begin to sense that their position is becoming increasingly precarious. Communication with UN command is often limited and frustratingly bureaucratic, highlighting the disconnect between those on the ground and those making decisions from afar. Quinlan repeatedly requests reinforcements and clearer directives, but his concerns are met with delays and vague assurances. This growing isolation becomes one of the film's most powerful themes, the idea that these men have been placed in an untenable situation with little real support. When the attack finally comes, it is sudden and overwhelming. Thousands of Katangese troops, supported by European mercenaries, descend upon the Irish position with heavy weapons and coordinated tactics. The scale of the assault is staggering, especially when contrasted with the modest resources available to Quinlan's company. Yet what follows is not a story of immediate defeat, but one of remarkable resilience. The Irish soldiers dig in, using their training, discipline, and ingenuity to hold their ground against impossible odds. The combat sequences are intense and visceral, but they are also grounded in realism. There is no glamorization of violence here, only the harsh reality of survival under constant threat. The film emphasizes the tactical decisions that allow the Irish troops to endure, the careful rationing of ammunition, the strategic placement of defenses, and the use of terrain to their advantage. Quinlan emerges as a calm and decisive leader, maintaining order and morale even as the situation grows increasingly dire. His ability to think clearly under pressure becomes the linchpin of the company's survival. One of the most striking aspects of the story is the portrayal of the enemy. Rather than reducing them to faceless antagonists, the film acknowledges the complexity of the conflict. The mercenaries, led by a seasoned French commander, are depicted as professional soldiers driven by a combination of financial incentives and ideological beliefs. Their respect for the Irish troops grows over the course of the siege, creating a nuanced dynamic between the opposing sides. This mutual recognition of skill and determination adds depth to the narrative, transforming the conflict into something more than a simple battle between good and evil. As the siege drags on, the physical and psychological toll on the soldiers becomes increasingly apparent. Supplies dwindle, injuries mount, and the relentless pressure begins to wear down even the most resilient individuals. Yet there is also a strong sense of camaraderie that binds the men together. Moments of humor, shared hardship, and quiet acts of bravery underscore the human dimension of the story. These are not just soldiers, they are individuals with fears, hopes, and a deep sense of duty to each other.
Meanwhile, the broader political context continues to unfold in parallel. Diplomatic negotiations, corporate interests, and international power struggles all play a role in shaping the outcome of the siege. The film subtly critiques the inefficiencies and contradictions of the UN mission, suggesting that the soldiers on the ground are often caught in the crossfire of decisions made for reasons far removed from their immediate reality. This adds a layer of tragedy to the story, as it becomes clear that the Irish company's predicament is not simply the result of battlefield dynamics, but of larger systemic failures. Despite their extraordinary resistance, the Irish troops eventually reach a breaking point. With ammunition nearly exhausted and no realistic prospect of relief, Quinlan is faced with an agonizing decision. Surrender, in this context, is not a sign of weakness, but a calculated choice to preserve the lives of his men. The film handles this moment with great sensitivity, emphasizing the courage required to make such a decision under extreme circumstances. It challenges conventional notions of heroism, suggesting that survival and responsibility can be as noble as victory. The aftermath of the siege is both poignant and frustrating. The soldiers are taken prisoner but are treated with a degree of respect by their captors, reflecting the mutual admiration that has developed during the conflict. Eventually, they're released, having endured one of the most remarkable defensive actions in modern military history. Yet, their return home is marked not by celebration, but by a surprising lack of recognition. Political considerations and narrative control lead to their achievements being downplayed, leaving many of the soldiers feeling overlooked and undervalued. This sense of injustice lingers as a central theme in the film's closing moments. The story of Jadotville is not just about what happened during those intense days of combat, but also about how history remembers or fails to remember such events. The film serves as a corrective, bringing attention to a chapter that had long been neglected. It highlights the importance of acknowledging the sacrifices and accomplishments of those who serve, even when their stories do not fit neatly into prevailing narratives. What ultimately makes this story so powerful is its combination of scale and intimacy. On one level, it is a tale of geopolitical conflict, resource competition, and international diplomacy. On another, it is a deeply personal account of leadership, resilience, and the bonds forged under fire. The juxtaposition of these elements creates a rich and layered narrative that resonates on multiple levels. The performances play a crucial role in bringing this story to life. The portrayal of Quinlan captures the complexity of a leader who must balance duty with compassion, authority with empathy. The supporting cast adds depth and authenticity, each character contributing to the overall sense of realism. Together, they create a vivid and immersive depiction of a unit under siege where every decision carries weight and every action has consequences. Visually, the film reinforces its themes through a grounded and unvarnished aesthetic. The setting of Jadotville is depicted with a stark realism that emphasizes both its beauty and its vulnerability. The contrast between the serene landscape and the violence that unfolds within it underscores the tragic nature of the conflict. The cinematography and sound design work in tandem to create a sense of immediacy, drawing the viewer into the experience of the soldiers. As the narrative comes full circle, there is a quiet sense of vindication.
the recognition that eluded the soldiers for so long is gradually restored, not through grand gestures, but through the telling of their story. It is a reminder that history is not fixed and that the act of remembering itself can be a form of justice. The legacy of Jadotville, once obscured, is brought into the light, offering a powerful testament to the courage and resilience of those who stood their ground against overwhelming odds. In the end, the film leaves a lasting impression, not just because of what it depicts, but because of how it invites us to reflect on broader themes. It challenges us to consider the complexities of peacekeeping, the realities of modern conflict, and the ways in which stories are told and remembered. It is both a tribute and a reckoning, honoring the past while encouraging a deeper understanding of the forces that shape it.